The following is a response to some of the comments I seen on John the Other's channel, the video where he gives me a plug. I think it's called Addressing a Female MRE Concern Troll. Anyhow, the comments I got denouncing me as femitheist's friend and a socialist and so on, I wanted to go ahead and respond. Oh, and this is orange because part of it was already recorded for the other video I did when I wanted to do my orange text for Halloween, so I made everything else in orange for continuity. And I just noticed that I for no reason capitalized the word orange. Why is that?
Yeah, I was subscribed to RBK until he started going off on libertarians in a major and irrational way. Although before that I'd also had a bit of a problem with the fact that he was awfully friendly towards femitheist Divine, a nutjob who publicly espouses male castration day and male genocide, and spoke in her defense a few times.
Since femitheist is a person I have not thought about for about a year, right up until John made this video, and I seen mention of it in the comment section, and mention of her in addressing John and his doxaholism, let's just get the femitheist shit over with once and for all. When I first spoke of femitheist Divine, it was a video called Femitheist Banhammered regarding her channel getting flagged down and terminated. I used that opportunity to talk about free speech, and how I didn't think her channel, regardless of her hate speech, should have been terminated. I made friends with Femitheist Divine when she seen that video title of mine, and wrote to me, 50% convinced she was actually a po, and not serious about this shit. Quickly me, her, and Snake Plisskenist, now known as Rizzle Dizzle, formed a weird three-way mindfuck of a friendship, me and Snake just instinctively trolling each other, and pulling Christo into the mix. What you had was three highly intelligent people, who are experts at being mental assassins, or mindfucks if you will, each playing a clever poker game, feeding each other false information mixed with genuine information, testing the waters, trying to break down the defenses of the other, possibly each of us having a different motive. Mine was curiosity mixed with a certain level of mischief. Krista's was to induct others into her collective. She's a bit of a natural-born cult leader. Snake Plisskenist's motive, to this day, is unknown. Actually, one possible motive Krista may have had to earn our trust and induct us into her world is, maybe she was actually just wanting friends. Wow, if that's the case, Snake, we are seriously bad people. Anyhow, Snake, being either dangerously obsessive and unstable, or a very crafty troll, really got the ball rolling with his heel turn on Krista, and effort to amass a collective backstab against her. Me, play acting like a gullible fool, taking the bait, sharing the bait with Krista, and leading him into a trap. The tangled web of deception and manipulation us three played on each other was a sweet thing of beauty. At one point in time, Krista was very suspicious I was secretly Snake. Snake was becoming increasingly convinced I was Krista. I attempted to set him up and pull the trigger, hoping to trigger a complete mental collapse, or forcing him to reveal that all the information he had given to me, and everyone else he sucked into this drama, regarding his obsessive love for Krista, was a big put-on for the laughs, the thrill of manipulating the gullible fucks. My pulling the trigger didn't succeed in doing either. However, it may have, and there may have just been a delay, because 3 or 4 days later, the eye patch comes off. He reveals his trolling motives, while lying about things, a deception within a deception, and then tells everyone he knows I am secretly Krista. This, for whatever reason, really got under her skin, and due to the dynamics of how it was all unfolding, I decided to make a video revealing the whole sordid affair, all the while being completely aware of the great possibility that this was a clever move against me to provoke me into making a in defense of Krista video, white knighting for her. He had two motives to do this, to either get me to cut my own throat, solidifying myself as a white knight, a bit like the trap set for Robin Hood, as a means to eliminate me as competition for Krista, or to have the reverse psychology effect of getting people forevermore convinced I was Krista. Being aware of that, me and Krista discussed the situation, the motives, and so on. I unleashed my video and destroyed him, telling the truth by the way. That video was not part of my trolling. My decision to put an end to this is when he made that video claiming he orchestrated this elaborate hoax to get in bed with girl rights watch, taking credit for convincing those pesky dames to flag people's channels. I thought this was a part of his trolling and or excuse making. Krista revealed to me screenshots of him from months earlier, confessing to manipulating those pesky dames into doing the flagging. Troll or not, mental fuckery or not, I wasn't going to tolerate associating with a flaggot, a person who utilizes censorship, even if it is censorship by proxy. I don't remember if I made that video before or after Snake's channel got flagged down. I think he had 2 strikes, and set his videos to private, and made other accounts. Oh, and he has somewhere between 100 and infinity sock accounts on every social media platform on earth. I don't condone the flagging and thus eventual termination of his channel. Afterward, me and Krista grew bored with each other not having Snake to play with. The dozens of MRAs who were involved in this entire ordeal just kinda drifted apart. The party was over. I continued the theme of creating suspicion among my own audience that I was Krista. After all, out of everyone in this MRM and feminism YouTube thing, me and Krista are the most competent technical video makers. Me on the innovative side, her more on the artistic surreal side. I must confess, she is the better of us two in video making. But in all fairness, she has herself on film. I am just text. I can change my font and add some chroma key and a background. That's about all I can do in the practical sense. So with us having the best video making skills, often being unnecessarily artistic and innovative, and being accused by Snake of being the same person, both of us having a flair for the dramatic, there is actually room to believe that we were one and the same. I nearly convinced Krista herself to participate in this farce, just for the shits and giggles, but Krista had nothing to gain by it, and as Snake so accurately pointed out, a real difficult time doing favors and returning favors for people. Her solipsism is remarkable. We grew bored with each other, then began butting heads, then came John doxing her, and me saying I ain't white knighting like the rest of these pussy-begging MRAs throwing themselves in the fire for you, and I can't say I didn't warn you, and not that she 100% directly and explicitly asked me to go to bat for her, but it was a read between the lines and convince yourself to do it and how it was your own idea, type of scenario, and it just got uglier from there, and we gave each other the biggest fuck you letters in history. We've never spoken since. Then I made the video condemning AVFM and John the other for that stupid doxing shit, and register.com and all that AVFM mental retardation that perpetuates the MRM being a circus act of the mentally inept. That, Nate EJ11, are the only times I have ever defended her. I have defended her by proxy of standing against censorship and doxing. Oh, and I have defended femitheism, reducing male population to 10% aspect of it, as being a great idea, that is almost as impractical and impossible as anarchism. Seriously, if men made up 10% of the population, that actually solves all of our damn problems. It's just not reality. Like sustainable anarchy, both a sustainable anarchy of voluntary socialism or communityism, was supposed to be the end result of the socialist experiment being called communism. You see, true communism was after the government re-educated people into being proper communityists. It would become voluntary. The wonderful socialist programs would work because it would all be voluntary charity-driven socialism. Voluntary socialism post-totalitarian socialism would emerge and we'd be an anarchy, no hierarchy, no privileges left to check, and we'd all just share, everything voluntary, all social safety nets being the charity of good people no longer corrupted by greed and selfishness. It would be communism, sustainable prosperous anarchy. Communism, and femitheism, are wonderful ideas that would fix so many of our problems. The issue that I take is that it is fucking make-believe for mentally weak people who need an escapist utopia by which they can mentally escape to, kinda like holding out for heaven, and so I can't support it. But again, my only defense of Krista was in regards to censorship, doxing, and Snake Plisskenist, which I have only spoken briefly to him a few times since that incident went down.
I think it's the hypocrisy of one who advocates for MGTOW but then comes out against the ultimate leave-me-alone political philosophy. The idiot should love libertarians, but of course he doesn't. My guess is that he most likely works for a government or takes a lot from state welfare system, which means that he wants other men to contribute to his pay or welfare benefit. And yeah, he totally had a huge crush on femitheist divine.
See, conflating libertarian and MGTOW as being interchangeable words. Men going their own way is not spiffy new internet slang for libertarian. Anyhow, I've said my stance on this whole thing and I will summarize again. I am, to some extent, libertarian. I believe in a minimalist government. I believe that is ideal, under ideal circumstances. I do not oppose libertarianism. I oppose its extreme end, which starts getting into weird flavors of anarchism. I get miffed when I hear oversimplified and truncated views on government's involvement on anything, deranging the original intention of any policy with hyperbolic hysterical bullshit to make it seem like every decision any government has ever made was for the express purpose of expanding power to have dominion over the people. This type of tinfoil hat hysteria makes me very, very ashamed to even say I am libertarian. And this is why I try not to come out and say I'm libertarian, because I so do not want to get lumped in with the vast majority of these shitheads. Nor do I want to have to carry the baggage these mental defects have stuck the libertarian movement with. And yes, I know not all libertarians are like that. With over half my audience being libertarian, and many of them even being ANCAPs, I know you're not all like that. I know not every ANCAP is that fucking moron who commented to me that by virtue of me not being an anarchist I am openly advocating the murder of 100,000 people. I am a fucking murderer, you see. Government does blank which leads to blank which causes blank to happen which has through some convoluted formula racked up 100,000 deaths. Therefore I am a murderer by supporting the existence of any government in any form. But this is typical shit from the ANCAP and extremists libertarian crowd. It comes right from the mental pathology of Alex Jones or Stefan Molyneux claiming non-ANCAP relatives want you shot in the head by virtue of expecting you to pay taxes. In spite of the fact you don't get shot for not paying taxes, at best you get arrested for evading taxes you have agreed to pay, and you get shot for resisting arrest in a manner that puts the life of a cop or innocent bystander in jeopardy. But hey, let's go from, you're not ANCAP, to oh my god you want to shoot me in the head, and then I get all of his little cult followers on my channel giving me the same hyperbolic nonsense, so I feel dirty, unclean, and embarrassed, just saying yeah, theoretically I am libertarian. Ultimately it doesn't matter whether I am for or against libertarianism, because it doesn't matter any more than if I prefer football or golf. It is superficial and irrelevant to me. I just don't give a fuck. My objection to the libertarians in this movement, half or more of them some type of anarchist or another, is when they hijack the men's movement. I don't care if you are anarchist or libertarian or socialist, it's not relevant to men's rights. I also don't care if you are a vegetarian, or a gun advocate, or homosexual, or Muslim. None of it has anything to do with men's rights. Attempting to tell me it does, is hijacking. But here is the really interesting thing I want to address. Sir, you proclaim I must work for the government or be on welfare. Okay, well heck, maybe I even do both somehow. Let's just go with it, shall we? In America, we have on the left, about 150 million people on the left wanting to expand socialist government, and about 150 million people on the right wanting to shrink government. These two competing groups of around 150 million each, playing this massive tug-of-war for over a century now. I have an audience of 5,000 people, with an absolute maximum of about 50,000 people within the men's movement to be heard by. Why would I spend my time taking sides, even if I, a government agent on welfare, could convince all 50,000 people in the manosphere to be all big government socialist? What have I accomplished? If you, somehow, convince all 50,000 people in the manosphere to shrink government and end all welfare, that's 50,000 drops in a bucket of 150 million people. That's not going to make a difference. It's like stepping on the scales and removing the coin from your pocket to lighten the load. It won't make a difference in any meaningful way. So, the idea that I am scared to death that my welfare, or my government job is in jeopardy, because of the overall sentiment within a microscopic men's rights movement will be the deciding factor in a 300 million man tug-of-war, sometime in my lifetime, is fucking ridiculous. Think about it. It would be foolish for me to think that if I just preach to my 5,000 man audience, I can make such a big difference against the 150 million Republicans wanting to take away my benefits or job. The only thing more foolish than that, is you coming up with this nonsense to try to justify my position of being anti-hijacking or too atheist to believe in anarcho-utopia. Here's something really funny to think about. You are so convinced in your libertarian faith, that you will lash out with angry foot-stomping anger and accusations and assumptions about all the bad mean people who don't share your same level of dedication, and yet oblivious to the fact that your small government goal is shared by 100 million other people, and that you as one individual will make no difference whatsoever, now or then, forever and ever. Your opinion, and your small government activism, won't make a difference in any way, shape or form, and you spin your wheels in so much anger and desperation, but it's all for nothing. You will have no effect on any government policy, not even a small town ordinance. For you to be so angry that there is another human being not sharing your convictions, is laughable. I, myself, realize that at best, I will have a microscopic impact inside of a microscopic movement that may or may not make a very real impact on the mainstream world generations from now when I am dead and gone. I am in a microscopic movement, that is still so new and young and impressionable. I can have some impact, some effect, not a big one, but still, in some small way. But you, sir, so dedicated to promoting your side of the mainstream political war that has been going on forever and will go on forever, for you to put so much energy into something so many hundreds of millions of times bigger and older than yourself, will in any way take actual shape in your life or my life, is a sad delusion by a very disgruntled little man who uses the MRM as a platform for his imaginary escapism, living in a little imaginary world where you can make a difference, a big real world difference that will change your own life and society in drastic ways. That's lonely, and it's sad, and I know that there are so many other people like you, angry, wanting a big change in their personal lives, believing this change can come from an external source, such as the politics of your nation, and thinking you can actually have some effect on that, and being furious when someone doesn't agree with your much-desired societal change, at least if you truly dedicated yourself to this microscopic movement called the men's rights movement, and you put your heart and soul into it, and never used it as escapism, but did it selflessly, you too could have some microscopic effect within a microscopic movement. And all of this makes me wonder, why do so many so-called MRAs want to waste their time talking mainstream politics when they can't ever have a prayer of effecting any of it one way or the other? Seems to me a much better use of an MRA's time would be fanatical dedication to making a difference inside the very small and young movement called the MRM, by contributing dynamic intellectual material specifically related to the actual topic the movement is centered on, men and their rights. Sure, the difference it is possible for you to make within this movement will never create a change in the actual mainstream society within your lifetime, and so whatever internal frustration you feel, cannot be remedied by external manipulation either way, but you can at least take pride in doing something positive for future generations. Like I said, mainstream politics such as socialism versus capitalism, the size and influence of government, is such a massive and huge eternal and ongoing struggle so many billions of times greater than yourself. It's really a waste of energy to even give a shit. And I'll be responding to this next comment by Big Wheels, section by section.
Sorry, but for someone preaching liberating oneself from the woman folk to be silent on liberating oneself from the shoals in government is just weird.
So, would it be weird for a libertarian to be married, you know, wanting to liberate himself from government, but not women? I mean, if it's weird in one direction, it has to be weird in the other direction. You could be in libertarian circles prattling on about how there is no sense in liberating one's self from government lest they also reject marriage and gynocentrism, but no, instead of hijacking their movement with our philosophy, you'd rather hijack our movement with their philosophy.
Especially when one is voluntary, man v woman, and the other forced, man v gov. To even get to be point of preaching MGTOW, one has to be sufficiently libertarian. Anything else is not acceptable in my book.
So the evil razor blade candy, I say sure you can be libertarian and MGTOW. You are saying no, you have to be libertarian to be MGTOW. Again, why don't you go tell the libertarians that they have to be MGTOW before they get to call themselves libertarians? How about, I won't go fucking hijack your movement if you don't hijack mine.
Libertarianism is not forcing any ideology on anyone.
Except you go apeshit when I, a libertarian, get fed up with the goddamn hijacking, and you turn around and call me an asshole and a socialist because I'm just not libertarian enough for you. And it's true, I ain't much of a libertarian. That may be why I am in the men's rights part of the interwebs, and not preaching on Ron Paul forums. Again, fascinating how libertarianism isn't forcing itself on anyone, but you have to be libertarian to be a MGTOW according to you. But no pressure, right? Also, this is something that irks me, the mantra about force and forcing and voluntarism. He says here that libertarian is not forcing any ideology on anyone, but it is. Firstly, he personally demonstrates that he is forcing it, but even outside of him, yes, libertarianism is a forcing of environmental circumstances onto people who didn't ask for those circumstances. If so much as one person does not agree to the change from a majority socialist society to a pure libertarian society, you have altered the environment in a way that affects their life, that they didn't ask for. This is true for all political models. Let's not pretend your shit doesn't stink and libertarianism is some political Jesus that heals the blind and the lame and does no harm onto anyone. Libertarians are willing to ram their will down the throats of others. Just like every other political philosophy, your shit stinks like everyone else's.
It's just a political idea for one to be left alone, i.e. the default state of the world.
No, actually libertarianism is a little more than leave me alone. It's slightly deeper than that. Anyhow, it is a default state of the world to be left alone. Since when? Seems to me the default state of the world is kill or be killed, rule by the powerful over the weak, might makes right, survival of the fittest. History as far back as ever, seems to be laced with slavery, and land occupation by whoever had the biggest army, the biggest bully rising to be tribal leader, people being put to death and sacrificed to gods, under command of the hierarchy of the tribe even in the most simplest ancient societies, from the smallest tribes to the earliest and mightiest empires. There have been a hierarchy, rulers who didn't exactly leave you alone. The Babylonian Empire and Roman Empire were built on fucking slavery. Not that this is important, but it shows your gross lack of reality.
Me not wanting to be bothered by the likes of Razor is not forcing anything on anyone.
Oh no, I am bothering and oppressing him, in spite of the fact this is the first time I ever heard of him, and wouldn't even be responding had he not said my name and ran off at the mouth firing the first shot, although coming to our space, hijacking our shit with your shit, laying down the rules that you have to be libertarian in order to be MGTOW, and Razor is just a socialist for not agreeing. That's not forcing or anything. Again, you're a fucking hijacker and a perfect example of the problem.
If anything, he is the one trying to force his socialistic philosophy on me, while preaching his idiotic MGTOW.
Again, you preaching that you have to be libertarian to be MGTOW, or you're a socialist like Razor. That's not you forcing, but me preaching that you don't have to be libertarian, although can be libertarian, and MGTOW, is forcing my socialist philosophy down your throat. I'm sorry, but you forgot to mention how I'm murdering 100,000 people and holding a gun to your head too.
The merciful Razor wants to teach me how to go my own way.
No, I am wanting to convince you to take your psychiatric problems to a therapist. I don't want you to go your own way. I just want you to fucking go away.
Except when it comes to government, then I have to fall in line like a little bitch. Fuck you too.
Yo, bro, do you even lift? This shit right here, this is the problem. Dude comes into our space and tells us we can't be MGTOW unless we share his political affiliation. Motherfucker has as much right coming to our space and telling us we can't be MGTOW unless we accept libertarianism, his specific flavor of libertarianism, no doubt. Yet I bet the motherfucker ain't in libertarian space telling everyone you can't be a libertarian and married because small government and gynocentrism don't jive. Oh hell no, you know he ain't doing that. He has way too much respect for the sanctity of libertarianism to hijack it. Got to keep libertarianism simple and pure, untethered, but he sure as shit wants to force libertarianism down the throats of MGTOW. That's called hijacking. Oh, and calling someone who doesn't hold your personal brand of libertarianism as the highest philosophical goal in life, a socialist, makes you a fucking moron. Go to Bernard Chapin's channel where everyone who doesn't agree with his interpretation of the one true right-wing libertarianism gets branded a leftist Marxist commie infiltrator, and then banned. In spite of the fact I believe in minimizing government as much as we can within reason, shutting down the EPA, the FCC, seriously fixing our education system. The schools don't need more money, they can have less and function better. See Libertarian John Stossel's work regarding charter schools, ending these stupid wars, pulling our troops out of the Middle East and hell probably putting them on the Mexican border to deal with the organized criminals, stopping all foreign aid, ending the postal service, slowly and carefully step by step ending the social security system, ending the alcohol, tobacco, firearms agency and homeland security, ending the multi-billion-dollar drug war and letting people smoke, snort, drink, eat, inject whatever the fuck they want like the adults they are, and much more. Downsizing. In spite of all that, I am a socialist because I believe a few regulations here and there may be in order, and should be played with and tinkered with. I think maybe when little 7-year-old Timmy gets his arm torn off in a machine at the company he works for, strictly because the machine was faulty and through no fault of his own, maybe he is entitled to that company paying him some disability since their negligence disabled them. Clearly that's communism. Maybe granting companies of a certain size tax breaks of some sort for issuing equal extended paternal and maternal leave would really help in achieving inequality in the family so people could actually balance parenthood and their career. And maybe then they'd have more fucking kids and the tradcans would stop running around screaming MGTOW is gonna kill us all, we all gonna die. Maybe that's not such a bad idea. One social policy to, according to tradcans, save humanity from the extinction MGTOW is going to cause. No, it makes me a socialist. I think within our current system, keyword current, system, enforcing some sort of equal maternity and paternity leave could help out a lot. Ideally there should be no maternity and paternity leave. However, if removing maternity leave means we are faced with one of two outcomes: 1. Men must be worker bees so that women can stay at home being eternal children and queen bees. 2. Humanity goes extinct. If those are the alternatives, then yeah, maybe some corporate tax breaks for equal parental leave, or government regulation for paternity leave, maybe in order as an alternative to male slavery and extinction. Because remember, while men being worker bees and women being queen bees may not be the most brutal slavery, it is the key to most of the inequalities. It is a reinforcement of the dual spheres model. It plays into the cult of domesticity. It sets up the role of man as protector-provider, disposable machine of labor. It sets women up as priceless breakable objects that must be given automatic value for her reproductive organs. It makes motherhood sacred while disregarding fatherhood. After all, women raise children and men work. It sets up a situation in where women parasitically leech off of men, not only as an option, but makes it somewhat mandatory. Thus women's natural instinct to seek out a wealthy male is greatly amplified to the point where marrying/loving a poor man is an act of stupid emotion. A woman with her head on straight would be a woman seeking a wealthy male to provide for her, and traditionalism makes it that way, and then bitches about it. We all say, most of us say, feminism acts as a philosophy to greatly amplify the negative aspects of female nature. Remove the feminism and women will be less bad because their bad behavior will be less encouraged and supported. Well, women seeking out wealthy males is her nature, but creating a society where work is not expected of a woman, and opportunities are lacking, only encourages, enforces, amplifies, supports this tendency. I'm telling you, this whole thing about women must stay home to raise babies, is the key to the inequalities. We must be willing to do whatever it takes to break this pattern. Now maybe we won't have to enact a government regulation onto corporations of a certain size, maybe we won't need to petition government to issue a tax break to companies that offer improved/extended equal parental leave. For right now though, within this environment, I think it's worth pushing for, under a more libertarian society. Obviously other methods should be tried first, like openly and loudly boycotting any large company that doesn't offer this. In a monarchy or a strong libertarian society, this would be the preferred method as it involves zero government participation. Since we are a minority, and not yet even a voting demographic, I suggest we keep in mind that when we do become a voting demographic, we use the mechanisms our society has in place to further our cause. We have to be willing to fight for men's rights inside of a republic, inside of a communist nation, inside of a libertarian state, a monarchy, an anarchy, a monarchy, a theocracy, a corporatocracy, or an aristocracy. We must be willing to fight for men's rights in any and every environment. I understand many of you want a libertarian society or all-out anarchy. Until we become that society, we are the society in which we are. We must be willing to use every tool at our disposal. Go push for a smaller state. I won't stand in your way, but don't stand in the way of men's rights activists who is pushing for men's rights when he uses a tool found in this current society to further men's rights. In addition to those agencies I said should be done away with, I honestly don't know where I stand on the CIA and the FBI. I must confess I don't have a strong comprehension of exactly what CIA and FBI does. I have a general idea, but I am not educated enough to say we can do away with either or both. In spite of all the agencies and safety nets I believe would be good to have abolished, failure to advocate for the elimination of every agency, cabinet and branch of government, equals socialism. It's just amazing that too many people in this movement have men's equality so far off in the distance of shit they care about, that they will brand people as socialist for not being libertarian enough. So if you want to downsize government to its barest essentials, you're not a libertarian because you support a tax-funded standing army to protect your state, or you think tax-funded prisons to keep the psycho murderers off the street is a good thing. You're no libertarian, and if you're not a libertarian, you can't be MGTOW, so long as you support even one branch, one cabinet, one agency, one service, of government. There is reason for some libertarians to call you not a libertarian, to which you can't be MGTOW now. Again, this guy, and all of those like him, need to go hijack the libertarian movement with MGTOW, rather than hijacking the MGTOW movement with libertarianism.